What's up, everybody? It's Joe here with the Johto Division's Power Ranking and Draft Analysis for the Season 3 of the NPBA. With me today, I have Willem, all the way from the Netherlands. So, Willem, go ahead and introduce yourself if you want.
Hello, my name is Willem. I'm also in this league, but I'm in the Kanto division, and I'm the Dutch to Ocean. I'll be helping Joe rank this team today, the teams.
All right. So, what we're going to do is we're just going to go through each team, give a few thoughts on them, and we'll show you where we ranked them out of 16. This is the first video we're going to post, I think, just because it's the first one we're doing. So a few things before we start is this is all just our opinions. You'll see a lot of these we have really different rankings for, so don't take anything too personally, or personally at all. And we're also not taking anything into account with like the coach themselves. It's entirely just based on the team. A few more things. There's 16 people. Teams had 110 points to draft 10 to 12 Pokemon. It's National Dex Legacy moves, but no Pursuit or Hidden Power, and I don't think I'm missing anything else. No Z moves. Did I miss anything?
I believe you're correct.
All right. So with that, we're going to start with the first team, which is the Sorna Raptors. So this team actually was a little bit different, and they made some changes right away, so we decided to just put in the changed team, not the original team. So I guess I'll start with a few things. I think this team is really good because it has a lot of pivoting and a lot of offensive pressure. It's got like, 3-4 things with U-turn and then Volt Switch on the Manectric. It's also got insane power from the Dragapult and Rillaboom, as well as a lot of speed between Dragapult and Manectric. Do you want to say anything?
It has like two rockers, INC and Nidoqueen, which are both good, but I don't know if you want to bring Nidoqueen rocks always, and I don't know if Diancie always has like a decent matchup to come.
Yeah. One thing, your audio is cutting a little bit. It's not too bad, but it sometimes isn't as great as other times. So anyone who's watching, just sorry about that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. My one AirPod just died.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I agree with you. The hazards is a bit of an issue. There's only 2 defoggers, which isn't terrible, but Scizor doesn't really love running defog. It usually wants to run offensive moves. Mandibuzz is obviously great with defog and U-turn.
Yeah, it's really good.
But even then, like, you don't need a ton of defoggers. Like, it has 2 pretty good ones, and it's going to bring them most games anyways. The Stealth Rock is a bit more of an issue, but I actually think the defensive Nidoqueen is pretty good. It's not like Nidoking where you're always running offensive. It has a little more bulk. Another thing I like is Arcanine gets Teleport. I forgot to mention that with my like momentum thing. So it can bring in like the Dragapult, because Dragapult doesn't really want to switch into strong attackers, but Arcanine can take the hit and then teleport away. So I think this team's like pretty well rounded. It doesn't really have like a type weakness. It's pretty balanced in that.
Yeah, it's maybe like weak to some offensive water types, because probably Wishy-Washy won't come, and like both of his resists are Dragapult and Rillaboom and are weak to ice. I think it might struggle a little bit with that.
Yeah. But overall, this is a really strong team. They were the first pick. By the way, we're going in pick order, so this was the first pick, and the next will be the second, and it'll keep going like that. So obviously they got Dragapult. Otherwise, I think that's all for this team, so we can move on to the next. So for pick 2, we have the London Lanturns. They actually picked Megalopunny first, which is pretty interesting, but they ended up getting Mew all the way back at the end of the second round, which usually would expect that to happen in the reverse order, but that's what happened here. For me, I think we have pretty different rankings. I think this team is decently strong. I like the speed between Megalopony at 135 and Superior at 113, and then Mew at 100, as well as I think, I don't really remember what Dodrio is, but it's like above 100.
It's 110.
110? Okay, so that's pretty good. So even though Dodrio is not really good, still the Superior at 113 is good for that. So I like the speed here. And it also has amazing hazard control because you have Defog on Mew, you have Rotom-Wash with Defog also, and then Rapid Spin on Excadrill and Avalugg. And I think Rapid Spin Excadrill is really good now that they buffed it to boost speed. So that's pretty nice.
And also Superior and Klefki Defog.
Superior gets Defog?
Yeah, I believe Superior gets Defog.
Okay, I didn't know that. Well, then that's even better. And then they also have Stealth Rock on Mew, Excadrill, and then Spike Klefki. And pretty good pivot moves too. So you can go and say anything else you want.
Yeah, I think it's kind of weird to not have the like a 1-point Sand Setter if Excadrill likes to run that.
What was that?
Like, I think it's kind of weird, like no natural Sand Setter for Excadrill.
Oh yeah.
Like even the 1-point Mini Hippo. And like the only two rockers he has Mew and Excadrill, so it will be forced more in a defensive role, which I don't like for both. Really, I'm more offensive player.
Yeah, that's true. Definitely, Excadrill doesn't want to run rocks, but Mew, like, I think he has enough offense with Lopunny, Excadrill, Superior, Darmanitan that like Mew can be more defensive most of the time. Especially because like you can't really always bring Avalugg, so Mew Rotom-Wash is a pretty good like defensive core. But
it's still a really good team.
Yeah,
but it's
definitely.
Like it's missing some tiny bit for me.
Yeah, I definitely think that Excadrill is a little bit weird here because he already has the Steel type for Klefki. So I don't really think it's worth spending 16 points on Excadrill if you're not going to run Sand with it. But even then, it's still like a strong thing, and it's a ground type. And the Rapid Spin is obviously very good on it.
Yeah, I agree with you.
All right. Well, one more thing. I kind of like. There's a lot of like utility here with Klefki and Mew. And also, like, Spiritomb can be kind of hard to deal with Sucker Punch and Will-O-Wisp. So that was something I liked, that it has a lot of things that can run, like, different sets.
Yeah. Also a downside for me is that it has no grounded poison type, so I think there will be a lot of T-Spikes. The Mew.
Yeah, that
doesn't like it.
That's definitely true. Yeah. Well, I think we can move on to the next one. I don't want to spend too long on every team because this video might get a little too long. So next up, we've got the Driftveil Derps. They have your favorite Appleton as their logo. I think this team is kind of weird. They picked 2 grass types right at the start, but they actually don't share any weaknesses. And then, obviously, Tornadus is really good, but after Tornadus, this team is really slow, except for, like, Rapidash, but Rapidash isn't very good. So if you don't have Tornadus, or you don't have, like, Dracovish with the Sandstorm, the team is, like, it's just nothing is above base 100. The fastest thing would be Drapion at 95. You can go ahead.
Yeah, it's a really weird team, and it has only one removal options like Divok on turn and on top, which I don't think. I think there should at least be one more. Hazard removal. The team has 2 solid rockets like Feral and Hippo. They don't share any weaknesses, but that's also really good in my opinion. It has nice spikes, T-spikes, Drapion and Feral too. It's a nice team.
Yeah.
It's really scary to prep for.
Sorry, what was the last part?
It's really scary to prep for because like Dracofish mostly struggles with waters, but then you have Pharaoh and Mega Venusaur.
Yeah, I think the combo for the two grass types with Dracovish is definitely good. It I think it struggles a little with dragon types actually, because Dracovish, as long as it's slower than a dragon type, like they don't have the stand up, then you're kind of relying on Aromatisse, which is like pretty weak, and then
Yeah.
like Ferrothorn and Venusaur can't really do anything to dragon types.
Yeah.
I think it could also use maybe a little more pivot moves, like Lantern has Volt Switch, Tornadus has U-Turn, and I think that's all. I don't think anything gets Teleport here. Maybe
I believe
Duck Bill.
Aromatisse gets, believe I, Baton Pass, but I'm not sure on that.
Okay, yeah, then it does have Baton Pass. But I definitely like the hazards here, and I like the support for the Dracovish. I think
Yeah.
Hippowdon and Ferrothorn are like, they're kind of the same Pokemon to me. I don't know, that's not really actually true, but like they just feel like very similar roles, like defensive
Yeah.
hazard setters, but Hippowdon can be a little more offensive. And there are different types, but I think like some matchups you might not want to bring both just because they a lot of times are doing the same thing, but you kind of need the Hippowdon for the Dracovish, so that could be a little bit of an issue sometimes.
Yeah, that's very true.
Well, the next team is our Season 2 co-champion. Of course, I was also the champion in my division, but the Season 2 champion for the Kanto division was this team, the Goodra Gang. And I think this team is really strong, but it's like, you have them at first, so I guess I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I really love this team because Urshifu will most likely break to almost any mono, any team except for like bulky fairies. Then you have like King Larry and Mega Aggron. And Sofeli can do like almost anything, any type, any resist what it wants to be. It's like 5D Vargas, even though investment is not great. Amazing rock status in Mega Aggron, which can take almost any hit, and Aerodactyl, which is like one of the fastest thing live. And T-Spikes with Kofagus, and it has some really low tier threats like Twacky, and I don't know, it's really great with Kofagus. Really
um,
good defensive type with a lot of opinion.
yeah, I think I was talking to Glenn when he drafted this team, and I was like, why are you just drafting full stall? Because if you see, like, after the Urshifu, until you get to Noivern, all five of those are, like, bulky, usually, like, utility or stall Pokemon. Um, and the one thing I don't like about this, obviously when you're stall, you don't expect to be fast. The only fast things, they're all flying types. So like Noivern, I guess Unfezant, even though I don't think you'll ever bring Unfezant, and then Aerodactyl, they are fast, except they kind of have the same weaknesses, and they can't really break different Pokemon. So I don't know if there's very many matchups where you bring Noivern and Aerodactyl. I feel like most of the time you just want one of them. I think maybe like one of those could be switched out for something else. But I definitely like there's so many hazards. The type coverage is amazing, especially with Silvally. And then Urshifu just breaks everything except fairies. Even with fairies, it gets Iron Head and Poison Jab, and you have Mega Aggron and Slowking, so it's not like this team's weak to fairy at all. I think I should have put them a little bit higher than fifth, but I didn't want to change my initial thoughts just because I may have just been biased by the fact that this was the championship team. So one other thing, they have Audino as a cleric, and I kind of think Comfey sort of fills that role also. I think Comfey gets Wish. I may be wrong. If not, then ignore what I just said. But that's kind of my only issue with this team, that Audino and Comfey are pretty similar, and then Noivern and Aerodactyl are pretty similar. But otherwise, this is really strong. So you ready to go to the next one? Oh, did I lose him? Sorry about this.
Hear me now?
Yep, I can hear you now. Are we all good?
Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't know what my other thing just died.
All right, no problem. So, yeah, everyone just saw my Discord, but I think it's fine. They just saw you saying that your mic was broken. So,
Yeah.
I guess they know what my channels are too, but I don't really care. So we can go to the next team. This is the fifth team, the Jersey Jellicents. So this was our biggest, so far, our biggest difference in rankings. I think this team is kind of like Glenn's team, like the Goodra Gang, I mean, but better in a few ways. So it still has like Mega Steelix for good hazard setting, as well as Landorus and Clefairy can also do that. And I think Chestnut gets spikes. Am I wrong on that?
No, I think you're right.
Okay, so I did this on the assumption that Chestnut got spikes. I'm like 90% sure it does. So it still
Me
has
too.
it still has really good hazard setting, and then its momentum is really good between Slowbro, Incineroar, and Landorus and Raikou and Ambipom. I think Ambipom gets U-turn, but I really like that like Slowbro can come in and heal up and then teleport into Incineroar, which will like intimidate and parting shot back into Slowbro, so they can just keep healing and they won't be able to do any damage. And then the offensive pressure here is really strong between Landorus, Latios, and Raikou. Landorus and Latios are just really powerful hitters, and there's not a lot that can wall like both of them. It's a little bit weak to ice. That's probably the biggest issue. It does have Incineroar for that though. So I put them at number 2. I think there's a lot of offensive pressure, a lot of hazard setting, pretty good defog. I know Galarian Weezing gets defog, so that's pretty nice, and Galarian Weezing has an amazing typing. And I also just really like the speed and the pivoting here. But you thought they were on the lower half, so you can go ahead on that.
Yeah, hearing you talk, I think I should also have put it higher. Like my problem with it was almost any attacker here, good attacker is special. Like Landorus, Latios, and Raikou are his main potential threats, and they're special. Even Slowbro is special. So the opponent is more likely to run special defense on this against his team too. Looking at my notes, the team might struggle really with bulky psychic types because Incineroar is the only super effective thing, and it can just switch out. That yeah, it might be. I think I should have put it higher. I think I made a mistake here. Yeah, hearing you talk.
I think what you said is true though. Like it is pretty specially biased. It still has Incineroar, Steelix, and Chestnut, and even Ambipom as like physical attackers, but obviously the big attackers, like the big 3 are Landorus, Latios, and Raikou. They're all special, so like Blissey is going to be kind of a threat. But you can actually run Landorus physically if you need to. And then the thing with the Psychics is definitely true. It definitely relies on Incineroar quite a bit in most matchups.
Yeah.
All right.
But I think I should have put it higher. I should have put it higher.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you change your mind after hearing the other person. We made our rankings without, like, looking at the other person, so it's good to, like, know your thoughts and then you can change them. So we can go to the next one, the Volcarona Virus, which is a pretty good team name. Let me look at the notes for this one. I think my main issue with this team is it's really slow, but it's not like in a stalling way. Like Glenn's team or Goodra Gang's team was like pretty slow, but it had a lot of stall. This team, the fastest is Mega Gallade and Frostlass are both 110, but then nothing else is even faster than 100. So I think that's going to cause a lot of issues because it's also not like they have any walls. Pretty much everything here is like a bulky attacker, and I think it needs some more variety.
If I'm correct, there's no defogger or spinner.
Moltres gets defog.
Regular Moltres, but I believe Galarian Moltres does not get defog.
I think it does. If I'm wrong, then I would move this down, actually. You can keep talking and I'll look at that.
Oh yeah, I was just looking it up. That's my main problem with it, because I thought Glary model didn't get defog, and so no hazard removal is not really good at all, and this team doesn't like to switch in on hazards. Yeah, it has pretty decent rock options in like Heatran, Crook, and Dragon. That's nice. And Tafabulu Heatran is like an amazing defensive core, and it's always very to face offensive. And like T-Spikes also, like, team doesn't like it because is there chronic poison, and I don't think that will be brought a lot too. I have more.
You're right, actually. And it turns out neither Moltres gets defog. I thought both of them did.
I thought just regular.
No, regular Moltres gets Roost. Galarian Moltres doesn't get either. So that's... Yeah, I would... Sorry to the owner of this team. I would move this team down a few more then. I thought Moltres got defog, but it turns out no one does. They do have good hazard setting, like Druddigon, Crocodile, Heatran, but like it's all Stealth Rocks. It's not like... I don't think Muck gets Toxic Spikes, and there's no regular spikes. So it's not even like they're a hazard stacking team. So
Frostlass gets spikes, I believe.
Oh, okay, yeah. But Frostlass is like, you're not really going to use it for that.
Okay. No.
It's more like if you need a fast attacker, and it needs to be a fast attacker because their only fast thing is Gallade, other than the Frostlass.
Yeah.
And I don't see any speed boosting here besides Moltres gets agility. So I think like there's pretty good type coverage here. Like they have Fire, Water, Grass, Fairy, Dragon, Steel. They have all those, but like they need, and they have 2 dark types. So I think the type coverage is definitely one of the strengths here. Like they have a lot of Pokemon that get different moves, like different type moves. And Mega Gallade has huge coverage, but there's just a lot of issues with hazards and speed.
Yeah. That was my main problem, like no hazard removal. So you kind of know, like almost everyone will hazard stack you.
Yeah, it's just going to be a strategy to beat this. But I think definitely they could maybe do some transactions to fix that, and then this could be a lot stronger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but they could also benefit from it, but like setting up turn 1 if like they can win. If you know they're going to put up rocks.
Yeah, that's also true. And they have Moltres and Gallade for good setup. So you could kind of trick your opponent into doing the right thing and hazard stacking you, but then set up on them. So that's definitely an idea.
I
good.
actually have the option to removal, so
yeah,
it was my big problem.
So the next team we also disagree quite a bit on, the Feasting Spheals. So this team is decently fast. Tapu Koko is really fast, and Mega Absol is also pretty fast. I think Absol is 110 or 115, and then Koko's 130. And then Galarian Darmanitan I really like, because it's basically always going to run Choice Scarf, so you can kind of consider it to be fast. And then Skarm, Slowking, Vikavolt, or Vikavolt, I don't know how you say it. I think they work pretty well together. Just because, like, Skarmory can be the defogger or the hazard setter, and then Vikavolt can set up sticky webs to make, like, Nidoking or maybe Galarian Darm to be a bit faster. Looking at this, I'm not sure if I like it at first anymore. I don't know what my thought was for putting that at first, but I definitely think this is one of the top teams just because there's a lot of good pivoting here with Tapu Koko and Slowking and Galarian Darm. So I think that's going to be able to pressure some teams pretty well. But you have them a lot lower than me, so.
Yeah, one thing I forgot Vikavolt gets web, so I think now because of that it should be a little bit higher. But I also thought it was like weird to draft Skarmory and Slowking, like 2 of your best mons, and with Koko with like electric weakness. Sorry, it was a little bit weird to me. And the electric resist of them are not really that great. It's like Coco, Vikavolt. Needle King has immunity. Your guys is actually really good, but you don't always have the matchup. And Terminator and Golem, which are probably like maybe brought one time each. That was a little bit of a problem with me for like having Coco. It gets like spikes and T spikes too, so that's amazing. That's good, but it's really offensive. I forgot it got web, so yeah, it should be a little bit higher for me.
Yeah, and I think the electric weakness is like not great for Skarmory's Slowking, but you have so many resistances. It might still struggle with like teams with strong electric types, but this team already took two of the strongest electric types, so some of them are already gone.
That's awesome.
But I mean, I think just overall, like Galarian Darmanitan with Tapu Koko, because both get U-turn and Volt Switch. Obviously, Darm doesn't get Volt Switch. It's gonna be nice to like pivot between them because they have such different coverage. It's gonna be hard to wall both because like it's ice electric. You can't really stop that.
That's very true.
We can move on to the next one. I don't want to stick on this for too long. So this is the St. Louis Shroomish, and we both have this one pretty high. I like that this team has Fairy Dragon Steel as like the first three picks because all of them are bulky but like still have some offensive potential. Obviously, Kieran Black is really offensive, but like Sylveon can kind of be both. And then it gets some nice hazard setting with Deoxys Speed, Swampert, Araquanid for sticky webs, and then even Credilli.
Yeah, this team is really scary because like Iron Black, Corviknight, Sylveon are all naturally really bulky, so they can take all the hits. Sylveon can even wish pass to some other mons because Kyurem and Corviknight both get roost. It's kind of a bit Stealth Rock weeks, and it got only Corviknight as a defog and more Pico as a spinner, so that was a little downside for me. The hazard setup is actually really good too. And the webs are really nice on this team, I think.
Yeah,
I would give Kyurem that speed boost that's it once, and Sylveon also.
I think the rock weakness is probably the biggest issue because obviously you have three things weak to rock, but like Corviknight is so strong, I think it's okay. More Picos, whatever, but it's still something to watch out for. And then the speed here is really good too with Deoxys Speed, super fast, and then Salazzle's going to also add speed most things, and then you have the sticky web, so I think it's not going to have many issues there. Mega Banette is also like fun. I don't know how good it is, but it'll come sometimes and just use Prankster Destiny Bond and kill something. So that's kind of cool too.
It's also really strong offensively.
Yeah, I think it's 165 attack, so that's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Moving on to the next team, the Saffron City Knicks. So we both had this team around the middle, 7 and 8. I think Garchomp Celesteela. I actually have Garchomp Celesteela on my team in the Kanto division. I think they work pretty nicely together, just like Garchomp being Dragon and Celesteela being Steel. It works pretty well. There's a bit of a fighting weakness with Blissey, Umbreon, Mega Kangaskhan, so I don't love that. And I also think the team's a bit slow. The only thing over base 100 is Garchomp at 102 and then Floatzel, and Floatzel's not very good. Sorry, Naeem, sorry. And then there's a bit of an issue with hazard setting because Shuckle is like your main hazard setter, but you don't always want to bring that, so you're mostly just going to use Blissey for that. And there's also not great hazard removal, with Volcarona being a defogger and then Delmise as a spinner and then Rotom Fan's a defogger, but you don't want to run defog Volcarona. So there's definitely some issues there, but Garchomp Celesteela is just such a strong duo that I can't really put this too low. You can go.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with what you're saying mostly. Fighting times are kind of be punished because of Garchomp and Volcarona with their abilities.
That's true.
Yeah, but that's always like scary to take a jump kick or a drain punch. Blissey can like take some special fighting hits if it needs. But I definitely agree with the rocks, like Shuckle and Armado are the two best rock setters here. You have Garchomp and Blissey, but Garchomp doesn't always want to run rocks, and Blissey sometimes is better other moves like Teleport, which sometimes protect. Yeah, the hazard removal is really like crappy too because Volcarona and Rotom fan usually don't like switching in or they have to run boots. Then you have like Belmouse and Armado as spinners.
Yeah. So I think like they have the pieces for like defog and rapid spin and then hazard setting, but it's not necessarily on like the right Pokemon. Like the things that have it don't always want to run it. Like mainly like Volcarona and Garchomp, like they don't want to use those moves.
Yeah, and I think webs are kind of weird on the. I think webs are kind of weird on this team because Garchomp, Celesteela, and Volcarona, all three get speed boosting set up. It's maybe only for the Kangaskhan, but I don't know if you really want to draft Shuckle for that.
Yeah, I think webs are not needed here, but if you want to, like if you want to run banded Garchomp for there's some calc that needs banded or something, then that could be okay. It's nice to have the option, but it's not amazing here. We can move on to the next one. So the 10th pick, just so you have a reference, we're on pick 10 right now. This is I think it's Celta Victini. I don't know if it's Celta or Celta, but this team, I put Willem for both of the rankings. The second one is mine. You have it at 6. I have it at 9. You put them higher, so you can go first if you want.
Yeah, I kind of helped drafting the team, and I really like it. Like Blitzcore, Toxapex, and Appleton are really good defensive core. Then you have Victini, Beedrill, and Swallow to bring offensive pressure. You have Webs with Turbuff and Rebellion as like their only stealth rock shadow with Blitzcore, but Blitzcore doesn't always want to run that. The main reason with this is like it only has one flying resistant Rotom, and I don't think you want to bring Rotom like a lot.
Yeah, there's definitely a flying weakness.
Yeah.
And I think Cobalion, it's kind of weird as a steel type because it doesn't resist fairy, but you have Toxapex for that, so it's not too bad. But I think there might be a bit of a struggle with like dragon types because you don't have any ice type stab here. I think Victini gets some ice moves, but that's kind of it. So there could be a bit of an issue with dragon types. But overall, it's pretty solid. The speed is okay. Actually, Beedrill and Swallow are fast, and also Cobalion and Zoroark, so I think the speed's pretty good here, and then you have the webs to help with that.
Yeah.
So
maybe I like this team.
I think I probably should have put them a little bit higher looking at it, and looking at my analysis, I think I liked them more when I wrote it than when I was making the rankings, because I did those separately. So maybe a little higher than 9th for me, but overall, pretty solid. Not any like major weakness, but I don't think it's like super powerful. Nothing is really high in the offensive category besides like Beedrill and Victini.
Yeah.
But still like pretty good. Nothing is really bad here. We can go to the next one. Again, I don't know how to pronounce this. I think it's pronounced Warwick, not Warwick. But the Warwick Weaviles. So there's a lot of hazard setters here. I think like almost everything here gets hazards or like hazard removal. So this team is definitely like geared towards hazard control. And there's also like decent pivoting. Clefable and Magnezone actually both get teleport, and then Moltres has U-turn. I'm gonna look in my go ahead.
Gets Flipstone.
I don't think I guess Pikachu gets Volt Switch, but like that doesn't matter. I think my biggest issue, the reason I put them so low, is it's just so slow. Like they have a lot of teams have like either they have speed or they have like utility, but they don't usually have both, and that's a big issue for this team. Aerodactyl's 150, and then Starmie is your only other fast thing, but it's not really that powerful, and everything else is really slow here. And there's no webs. Like this team would be really nice with webs because you could make like the Como O and the mulch race a lot better with that, and even the cloister. So I think that's probably the biggest issue for me is just it could use a bit more speed, but it has a lot of utility with all the hazard setting and stuff.
Yeah. It's a nice team. It kind of might struggle against bulky grass types. I think you almost said anything. Yeah.
Yeah, I think with grass though you have the mulch race,
and the mulch race.
so I don't think it's too bad.
No, but it doesn't have nice matchup, or you have like a really good mulch race switching out with the grass types.
Well, we can go to the next one. So this is the FC Bayern Munchlax. We both have this team pretty low, and I think for me it was the speed. Everything here is slow, besides the Rabombi and kind of the Zapdos. And I guess Shaman, but you're never running fast Shaman really. And I don't think there's any Defog or Rapid Spin besides Zapdos. Is that correct?
I believe Rabombi gets Defog too.
Okay. The Rabombi is also going to be a web setter, so you don't really want that. But I mean, if you need it. So those were kind of my big issues here. If you want to go ahead.
Yeah, my big issue was like Zapdos is such a great offensive mon too, and only having Defog on Zapdos and Rabombi doesn't want to run it. You're kind of pushing it more defensively, or you will take hazards with like Zapdos and Entei, which doesn't generally like it after they run boots. The speed was also like not good, like Rabombi and then Zapdos, Shaman, Entei. Then it drops like Deoxys defense, but you don't hit on that, and then Mega Gyarados.
Yeah, I think there's a strength here is I think the Mega Gyarados is pretty good here because you can Dragon Dance and sweep some teams, and you have like Shaman and Entei as like the Fire Water Grass thing. They can help each other out to like get rid of the threats for the Gyarados, and also Zapdos can help get rid of bulky grasses that it struggles with. One thing I don't like is I don't really know what Stakataka does. I feel like it's kind of like Deoxys defense, like it can set hazards, and I know it has some good offenses, but like its type is really bad, and this is not a Trick Room team. It's not slow enough to be Trick Room, but it's also not like fast enough to be fast, so it really relies on webs, but I don't really know what Stakataka does here.
Yeah, me too. I don't know either, and it's also kind of weird to have like Deoxys defense with hazard setting, a lot of hazard setting, and then Rabombi with webs, no spinner, just only Defoggers, which aren't also not good.
Yeah, I think
that's a problem for me too.
The type coverage here is definitely good. There's not like one typing this team is weak to, which I do like quite a bit, and there's a lot of good bulk here. So even though we both have this at 15th, it doesn't mean it's terrible, but there's just a few things that need to be like patched up. Probably a Rapid Spinner, and then like something else fast I think would be helpful here.
Yeah, I agree.
We can go to the 13th team, the Trinidad Treeckos. So we again both had this pretty low. I think it has kind of similar issues to the last team. There's nothing here that's fast besides Kartana, which is like base 109, which is like fine, but everything else is pretty slow. There is some defoggers, and there's not amazing hazard setting. You have Sandaconda and Landorus as both stealth rockers, but I don't see why you would ever bring Sandaconda if you have like Landorus, which is pretty much always better. I think there's good like bulk and setup. You can set up with Landorus, Suicune, and Kyurem and Altaria. So I think that's one of the big strengths here is like the setup potential. But I think the hazard setting issue and the speed issue kind of outweighs that for me.
Yeah, I agree. Like the defoggers are Katana, Lando, Mega Altaria, and Rotom Heat, which are not always the greatest. Like Lando and Sandaconda both have rocks, but both also weak to like almost anything the same. They're both ground types. That's not great either. And Wheezing is their poison type, but can't absorb toxic spikes.
Does it only get levitate,
Also,
or doesn't it get neutralizing gas?
oh, no, I'm sorry, I forgot. It gets, but it's not always like the best.
Yeah.
Sometimes you want to have levitate, but you can't then absorb toxic.
I think Escavalier with Kartana is kind of weird because they're both like really weak to fire, and they're both really strong physical attackers. But Escavalier is just the slow version of Kartana, basically. I think if there was something like take off and replace with something, it'd probably be the Escavalier, and maybe this Anaconda. But that said, it's still like I think Suicune, Kyurem work pretty well together with Lando. So also the Altaria and the Kyurem both being dragon is kind of not the best, but they do have 2 steel types and a poison type, so the fairy weakness there isn't like that bad.
Yeah, and like Suicune ties this team together for me. It backs up a lot of weakness.
Yeah, Suicune's definitely the most important one here.
Yeah.
We can move on again. 14. So this was our biggest difference. The Portland Pelippers. So this is the rain team. You have them really high, so you can go first, and I'll say why I don't love them.
Okay, yeah. I don't like rain, that's one thing, but I think this team is really good. Because you have like Lele and Holucha, which are a really good combo, and No Priority is also really good against this team. Then you have like the rain with Swampert, Manaphy, Scary and Rain, and Pelipper. You have all the things are rain related, and you have a Jirachi, which can, if you don't know what to bring, just throw a choice card from Jirachi and a Flinch. That's one thing I really like. The speedsters are not good, but also not bad. Like Holucha is fastest with 118, and it goes like 100, and then I believe 95, 85, 80. It's like, yeah. And the hazard removal is also not the best, but it's so offensively scary to prep for.
Which one?
That's why I put it so high. I'm sorry, what do you mean?
Sorry, you said what's not the best?
Oh, the hazard removal. It's like Holucha and Pelipper and Murkrow, but
it has Fortress, and
Fortress.
I think Fortress and Omastar actually both get spin. So I think the hazard removal is actually decent here. So I'll go. I think like I have this team pretty low. Maybe it should have been a bit higher, but I think the speed is actually a huge issue here because like even though the tiering is good, like the differential between the speeds, but Holucha is your only fast thing, and everything else is basically 100 or lower. So unless you have the rain up, you're not going to have anything that's fast because like you need the Swift Swim on Swampert and then you have like one more fast thing there. I guess sort of my issue is there's a lot of water types, and I don't think you need that many water types on a rain team. Like Omastar isn't really needed here, and I think steel types on a rain team are also good, but I don't know if you need 2 of them. Hearing you talk about it, it's definitely a little bit better for me, maybe a little higher than 14. Something I didn't like is like you need, for Holucha, you're trying to set up the psychic terrain with Tapu Lele, but then for Mega Swampert, you're trying to set up the rain, and that's kind of hard to do both. You don't always need to do both, but knowing that's coming, your opponent can kind of play around it. Like if you set up terrain or rain, I guess they both end in rain. If you set up psychic or rain, your opponent knows what's going to come in next, and they can kind of plan accordingly. So I think my biggest issue with rain is just it's kind of easy to prep for, or maybe not easy to prep for, but it's just predictable. You pretty much know what everything set is going to be each week. The one thing I do like for that is you do have the Jirachi that has a lot of different sets, but everything else is pretty much going to run the same set every time.
I think Manaphy can also like have 2 different.
Isn't Manaphy just like Tail Glow and then Water Move, Ice Beam, Energy Ball?
Yeah, and it can also like run, I believe, Rest, then Rain, and then 2 offensive moves if it likes.
Yeah, it has some options.
Because of hydration.
Yeah, the hydration Rest I do like, but I don't know. I think maybe higher than 14 for me, but Again, I don't know if you need that many water types, and I don't know if it's good to try to set up rain and terrain in the same, like, on the same team. That's just a lot of different strategies that don't really work together. So I think Hawlucha is still good here because it helps with grass types.
Yeah, I think that was my main thing too. Like grass type will mostly wall, but like you have Hawlucha, and maybe water types will be annoying, but I think they can deal with it a bit. And like Omastar can be replaced if I'm being honest, because you have Fortress for that kind of role. But I
Yeah.
really like this team.
Yeah, I think if I would add something, it would definitely be an electric type to help with water types.
Yeah.
Maybe like get rid of Omastar. And honestly, I don't like Toxicroak. I don't think it really does anything. It has dry skin, but like that's not a
Yeah.
really good ability. And then like Regidrago, it's fine. It just uses dragon moves, but it's walled by fairy types. I think those three, Toxicroak, Omastar, Regidrago, maybe you could like use the points to combine them into like one good electric type if there's one left. I don't really know what's on the draft board, but
Yeah.
that'd be a thing
I
for me.
think
Like,
that can make the team even better. Yeah.
yeah,
I still really like this.
yeah. I think there's some teams that are just gonna get swept by the Swampert or the Hawlucha, so that's definitely something to look out for.
And you always have like Fortress 2, is it Spheals?
Yeah. Well, moving on, we have the 15th team, the Galway Garchomps. Um, I've got to look at this one. I kind of forgot what I said about this one. Oh yeah,
I can go first.
you can go ahead. You can go ahead.
Yeah, like I used several last season, and it's kind of walled by a lot of grass types, even though it gets blaze kick. And Zygot also gets walled by grass type. So like two of your main offensive mons get walled by grass type, and then you have like Muck, Alona Muck, and Charizard as your main grass type dealers. That was my main issue. Uh, Also, only Registeel as Rock Setter is not great for me. Uh, because I like to have more options, so you don't know what to have, and then you only have Florges and Charizard as removal. That was my main problem with it.
Yeah. So I have basically the same thing. Sorry, what was it? You said something else besides Charizard as removal? Oh, does Florges get
Florges.
defog? Does it get defog?
Yes.
Okay. Then that's a little bit better for me. But basically the same thing. Tangrowth Vaporeon again struggles with grass types. The team is also a little bit weak to ice. Zygarde Tangrowth doesn't like ice, and then like I guess you can kind of deal with it with Registeel Charizard. But
And Vaporeon even.
yeah, but I think like having both of your offensive threats weak to grass isn't the best because like I think you're gonna have to bring Charizard a lot of the time, and Charizard is kind of terrible. It's actually not that bad. Like, but I think having to use a low tier in most of your matchups to patch up that grass weakness isn't gonna be very good.
No, I agree.
See if there's anything else. I guess the rock setting is a bit of an issue. I like the Regenerator with like flip turn on Vaporeon, like Regenerator Tangrowth, and then you have the Zero Aura as well.
Yeah,
So
that's actually really nice. Yeah.
there's definitely a few good things here, and the type coverage for things that aren't grass types is pretty good, but there's no dragon type, so that'd be maybe something to look into. Maybe a better fire type would be nice. Um, all right, so we can go to the last team then. The Vancouver Victinis. So I think this team, it's like three really good things, and then everything else is kind of okay. But I think Mega Scizor, Feeny, and Hydreigon, they just work really well together, all three of them. Two of them can U-turn, and then all of their weaknesses are covered by the other ones. So those three, and all three of them get defog. All three of them can set up. So that's really nice for me. Do you want to say anything?
Yeah, Feeny gets, I believe, flip turn 2, right? So that
I don't
also
remember.
adds. I think it does. And like then you have Corselia and Porygon 2 also as more defensive. And like Scizor and Feeny are both also really naturally bulky. So it's really Defensively, it's really scary to face. And then you have the webs of Calventula.
Yeah.
Then, like, why I didn't put it so high is because Regirock is their only rock setter, and this team, I think, likes to have rocks up against their opponents.
Yeah, this team is going to have a lot of, like, grindy games because it's so bulky. So having rocks would be nice. I think, like, Surfetch is kind of just, like, a random attacker here that I don't know if you ever really bring it. The other thing for me is the speed. It's very slow, except for, like, Galvantula and Cryogonal, but Cryogonal is not going to come very often because it only gets ice moves. And it's good once you get the webs up because a lot of the things here are like decently fast, like Hydreigon, Feeny, and Chandelure are all like okay speed, but you really need the webs up for that to work. It does have good Scarf options, but otherwise I'd like a little bit more speed and then definitely hazard setting. Hazard removal is good, but hazard setting is not. And then Wailord also doesn't really function as a bulky water because it's not really good.
I agree. You can get like rid of the last 3 and maybe last 4 or 5 even, and like some better months.
Yeah, definitely. Like the first 7 they work really well, and then I think you could use the last few to fix up maybe speed and hazard setting. But even with those issues, I think the first 3 working so well together just pushes this to the top.
Yeah, I agree. It's a really good team.
Yeah. Well, I think that's going to conclude the video. This is the last slide I have set. So, do you have anything else you wanted to add?
What's the other power ranking?
What's that? Oh, I don't have that slide because I didn't want to make it.
So, watch the other power rankings if the videos are out.
Oh, I thought you were saying go to the power rankings. Yes, definitely watch the other ones. This is the first one posted, probably, but we'll get the other ones up in a few days. So, thank you all for watching. Let us know in the comments who you think the best and the worst team is, but don't actually say the worst because that's mean, so just say the best one. Willem, thank you for joining me for this. You'll be in one of the other ones, and I'll be in one of the other ones.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Anyways, thank you all for watching. Bye.